The Christmas show continues, and it is our pleasure to welcome in one of the busiest people out there in the world of professional wrestling media. You can see her work at Fightful, WrestlingObserver.com, and of course, overseeing Instant Culture. She is Denise Salcedo, who is here on the post-wrestling Christmas show. A happy holiday season to you, Denise.
I am so happy to be here, by the way. When the second I got the invite, I was like, yes, I can be there. I checked my calendar and I was like, perfect timing. I will be here. Happy holidays to both of you and everybody watching, listening, both.
Well, it is great to have you on. And we do not have any preference towards Christmas, but there is a YouTube video that exists, Denise, of you not being such a Christmas person. Is this the case? Do you have an aversion to the holiday season?
The second you brought that up, I was like, oh, I know exactly where he is going with this. So what happened during a podcast with Sean and I on Fightful, we were talking about, I don't know how it all came up, but we were talking about like Home Alone. And I've never really liked the movie, and also like A Christmas Story. I never really liked the movie either. And I started to think, I was like, everybody's favorite holiday, like you asked like a good majority of people, all their favorite holidays are Christmas. And for some reason, like I didn't want to be that person. And I was like, so I spent my entire life saying, nope, my favorite holiday is like Easter. My favorite holiday is Easter because I loved Easter. And then I started to think, like, it started to become a part of me where all of a sudden it was like, oh, well, I'm not a big Christmas person because I just didn't want to be the same as everybody else. And so now it's like this whole thing that I supposedly, hate Christmas. I'm just like not like the jolliest person. Like there's people that love like Christmas carols and they'll buy ugly Christmas sweaters and wear Santa Claus hats and bake cookies. I'm not that person.
Well, you know what? It's like Easter gets no love. Like we're not doing an Easter show every April. We're not coming up. You can't name me an Easter song off the top of your head. We don't have malls decorated for Easter. Like it's a very, very under the radar holiday, if you can even call it that. You only get a day for Easter, essentially. The Christmas, it is a season. We dedicate a month, 6 weeks to this thing every year. So I do understand, but placing the spotlight on the less celebrated holidays.
Yeah, I love Easter and Halloween. Easter and Halloween are like my happiness. And I'm the person, like, I will invite people to my house to do like Easter egg hunts and like, put out fresh food. Because that Easter gives you like the fresh food vibes, like, oh, you could eat sandwiches and, cold pasta and all of that good stuff. I like it. I think it's a lot of fun. You get to paint eggs, etc. So that's my favorite holiday. But I obviously do enjoy Christmas when I'm like eating tamales and opening my gifts up. And I do like shopping for people. That's always really nice to like give other people gifts.
When it comes to the holidays, I was definitely curious to ask you, as somebody who is involved with so much, how do you manage to find the time for yourself? And, is burnout ever a concern of yours in this line of work?
Yeah, so that's the funny part. Like when I started taking all of these different jobs, I saw a lot of people that were like, oh, I hope Denise doesn't burn herself out. I hope Denise doesn't burn herself out. And it was funny because I started thinking to myself, what a lot of people don't realize is that I had to do so much work to even get here. So it's like, I'm not going to go from doing all of this other work to all of a sudden I got these different opportunities and then stop doing the work. My schedule has gotten ridiculous, like crazy. So this, for example, just this weekend, like literally just like 2 days, I was like having meetings, coming home, getting ready. For example, Friday, literally morning meeting that took me an hour to get to, an hour to come back, get here, get ready, do my notes, pack my gear up, go out, do an MMA show, conduct interviews, make sure that I'm prepared for that. And on top of that, they gave me like a bunch of other additional duties. And then after that, come home, get ready, pack my bags, fly out for my 6 a.m. flight to Texas, get dropped off, land in Texas, come there, get ready, say hello to everybody, prepare for the card, do commentary, finish the commentary, get home, be up super early, like at 3 a.m. to take a flight back to Los Angeles. So, and that was literally just like 2 days right there. It's just kind of like an example of sometimes things can get a little crazy, but I know that this right now, you never know how long things are going to last. So I want to make sure that I take full advantage right now that I have the opportunity to take advantage of that. I don't have kids. I don't have, any of those like outside responsibilities. So I just want to, like, it's worth it for me to essentially go out there and go all crazy. But the one thing that I think keeps me sane is that I'm really good at like listening to like, I don't know how this is going to sound, but I'm really good at listening to my body. So the second my body says, Denise, that's it, you're done for the day, go to bed, relax, do something else, get your mind off of things. I'm really good at listening to that. Like once I start feeling it, I don't push further than that. But it's a lot of mental preparation and making sure that I know mentally what my schedule is going to be like for the day, for the week, so I can prepare for that. And then when I do plan like certain days off to where I could really relax and, enjoy myself. Like there's days where I will be like, nope, no wrestling today, nothing. I don't want to read any news about it. I don't want to see anything about it. Nothing. Like this is my day off. This is the day that I use to sort of, reconstruct myself and my goals.
That's really important, I think, to build into everyone's schedule. When you talk about like kind of juggling all these different balls, Denise, was time management something that was always a strong trait of yours to be able to kind of navigate this? Is it something that you've been able to improve upon? Like, just tell me just a bit about kind of just the scheduling process when you're staring at a week that is just full of different things that you have to cover at varying times of the day.
Time management is beyond important. I literally have 3 different places where I see my schedule. Like I have a giant whiteboard where I'll see like a quick glance of like my month and then my daily stuff. And then I have a portion here, and I was going to show it to you. I'll pull it out for a second, but I have like a bunch of weekly calendars. So I have to do weekly calendars just so that I can visually see the entire day. And it's gotten to the point where it's like so overly detailed, but if it's not detailed, if I don't write it down, I won't remember and then I won't do it. So I'm very careful to always make sure that I write everything down and don't miss a single thing. But time management is important, but also the other thing that's very important is making sure to build strong relationships, because there are times where opportunities come up, but let's say you already have something going on that day, but this is like a big opportunity and you're like, damn, I cannot miss out on this. You have to be able to have that good relationship with your bosses and say like, hey, I got this going on. I'm very open. I make sure never to miss a show. I only ever like have to move my schedule around if something else comes up, and me making sure that my goals and everything is clear with my bosses and the people that I work with, and that I have a good relationship with them. That's also very important. And making sure to always be like available as well, making sure to always, take other opportunities, because if they see you doing the work and then there's that one day where you're like, dude, I really got to do this, they'll be like, go for it. Like, don't even worry about it. Like, we got your back. So having people that are good to work with and have your back is also really important, because it helps you out when you're trying to like juggle like a zillion stuff. And that's the thing too, like all the people that I work with, like I'm an independent contractor. Like I don't have a contract with anybody. And that for me was incredibly important. So like the second I got brought in to work with somebody, I made sure that they knew like, hey, I'm not planning on being exclusive because I want to work everybody else. And you'd be surprised. Everybody was completely cool with that. Nobody had an issue with that at all.
You are the forbidden door of wrestling journalism.
I've heard that.
Yeah. I mean, you work for so many different reputable outlets, and, like, I'm curious if you ever notice slight differences in the audiences, and do you cater your content differently across the different outlets?
So I don't cater my content differently. My content is the same across the board. So I like to bring in, my whole thing is the reason I've been able to get this far is because I'm always myself. And myself does not change. Like who you see on camera is who I am off camera, who my fiance sees, who my grandmother sees, who my siblings see. I'm the exact same person. So when I'm on these podcasts, I always make sure to bring entertainment, and you bring entertainment by like being yourself, being funny. That's who I am. Like that's what I try to bring to the table. And secondly, to always make sure that you're knowledgeable. My whole thing is you have to be knowledgeable, and there are a lot of criticisms that come with being a female, and you cannot show any signs of crap, I don't know this. I have to make sure that I'm always prepared. So I make sure to have the knowledge. And if I don't have the knowledge of something, I either bring in somebody who does have the knowledge of that, or I ask questions, or I do the research. I try to find out, or if I flat out do not know something, I will say, I do not know this. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know about this. So I always make sure that I'm fully prepared. So that's one of the things that I like to bring to my podcast, is a lot of honest opinions mixed in with, a little bit of comedy, because that's just like who I am, but not in a way that I think some people rely so heavily on having like podcast gimmicks. And I hate that. Like, I hate people who have like gimmicks on their podcast, because it just doesn't work. It does, like, for my opinion, like, it doesn't work. Like, I think people want to connect to something that is authentic. And if you are authentically yourself, that's who you are. And people will relate to that, or they won't relate to that. And you'll find your audience in that way. And there is different audiences, but I think like the overall, the people that know me, like my viewers, they're funny. Like, they will be funny on Twitter. They'll be funny in the chat. They'll send me memes. And that the reason they're that way is because I've helped cultivate that with the way that I present myself on podcasts, with the way that I, tweet stuff out. And I am very careful with my brand. You'll notice that, like, I'm very careful with the way that I present, which includes the way that I dress, the way that I act, etc. Because I know a lot of what I do will affect a lot of my opportunities. It'll affect of who I have relationships with, and, who my viewers are.
You spoke recently about trying out for the WWE, and I'm just curious that you took it as like this positive, like that door did not open, but it kind of gave you the motivation to go in all these different avenues. And seeing the success you have had, has that changed any of like your ultimate goals? Are you looking at that far ahead? Just tell us a little bit about that, and what that whole process was like for you that's brought you to this current position.
That is a phenomenal question. So at the top of this year, to clarify the whole WWE thing, I had essentially been up for an on-air talent position, and I had applied in November. And I kid you not, from November to March, they were debating whether or not to like hire me. From November to March, that is like 6 months right there. And for 6 months, I did not know what my life was going to look like. And the reason I had applied to WWE, because I thought that's the direction that I was going to go. I was like, okay, I'm going to, go to WWE. I'm going to, work hard. I'm going to start off as a backstage interviewer, and I'm going to work hard. I'm going to be the next Renee Young, and I'm going to, bring it my way and do things my way, and, be on the post shows and do all of this stuff. And I'm going to travel the world. And this is the vision that I want. And then when they basically decided to go in a different direction, I was like crushed. I was so depressed about it. I like cried like a little baby. It was so pathetic. And then I just like, something inside me was like, on a Friday was when I got the call. I call it Black Friday now. It's really funny. So I'm like, okay, Friday I got the call, and they basically told me they decided to go a different direction. And then after that, I let myself be like sad and like feeling down, like Saturday and Sunday. Like I was just like, just almost looked like I had a breakup. And then come Monday, I was like already, pitching myself to other people. I was trying to get more work, and I cannot tell you. So the growth that I have had from March until this point has been insane. I started at the top of the year, I started at 13,000 Twitter followers. Right now, I'm close to 50,000. And that all happened during that chunk of time, because when someone tells you we're going a different direction, when someone does not pick you, it motivates you. It like lights a fire under you. And it makes you just say, I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to continue working hard. And so that's how I started things off. And then out of nowhere, this beautiful thing happened when I realized I did not want that anymore. I did not want to be a backstage interviewer. I realized that I was way more than that, and that I love podcasting. I love interviewing, and I love creating content. And when you start to realize like, hey, if I would have taken this job, all of those things would have been taken away from me. And now, here I am being able to talk to people like you guys. Why? Because I, ended up going in an entirely different direction. And now I realize that you do not need to work for like this massive company to see rewards coming in. Like if you work hard and you're kind to people, you will, succeed. And yeah, you're going to get down and you're going to cry and you're going to be like, pathetic for like a little bit, but like, you've got to get yourself back up, because I could have easily been like, well, they said, no, I'm done. Career's over. Let me try to go back and find something else. But it just really inspired me to work a lot harder. So in a way, I am really thankful for that rejection, because it changed my life.
Wow. That's incredible. Go ahead, Wayne.
Well, I'm sure you have a lot of people asking you for career advice at this point, for people who are wanting to enter the industry and create something that like you have. I'm curious what you typically might tell somebody in those positions.
My number one thing that I tell people is create content. I just think that if you create your own content, that's the only way. Nowadays, like the reason why I feel I got this far was because I used my YouTube channel as a resume. I used my YouTube channel to say, hey, look at me. I can do these interviews with these wrestlers. Look at me. I can pull news out of these interviews. Look, I can create content. I can talk about wrestling. Why? Because I was doing it for myself. And so when people start to see that, when people see like, oh, she's doing fine on her own, we might want a little piece of that. That is essentially how people see things. Like for me, my YouTube channel was a resume. My goal was to get hired. And that is why I started a YouTube channel. Now my YouTube channel goals have evolved, they have changed, but that is essentially the premise of it. Like that's why it started. And the reason why I started it was because I couldn't find a job anywhere. So that's
jobs found you, Denise. They came after you.
They did. It's crazy. So like, for example, like that MMA job that I worked this weekend, I got that job because the person that was hiring was, scrolling through YouTube, looking for, personalities, found my YouTube channel somehow, and luckily went on to one of my best interviews ever, my Jake Atlas interview, went on to that. And he literally told me on the phone, like, Denise, I was honestly only planning on watching 10 minutes of your interview. And he's all, I ended up listening to the full entire hour. And I just thought to myself, that is the best compliment that I can get when someone thinks I'm just going to come in and watch like a second and see what this girl is all about. And then for me to do like a good enough job for them to stick around. And granted, the story for that interview was really good, but it's little things like that have essentially helped me get other work.
Yeah, and if for those that did not hear it, like I thought it was so cool right off the top, is that a lot of wrestlers, they can be very hesitant about going out and doing interviews, how it's going to come across. And Jake Atlas right off the top, like he made a point of coming to speak to you, and that has to be just the ultimate compliment.
It honestly was. And I think a lot of that was, it was trust. I made sure, Jake and I knew him before he went to WWE. I had interviewed him prior to that. So he kind of already knew me and he knew what I was all about. And he knew that when he came on to me that he was going to get, I wasn't going to try to I told him straight out, look, I just want to get your story. I don't want to bury the company. I don't want to do that. I just want to get your story. And, during that interview, that was my intention, to get the real story and the real experience behind what Jake Atlas went through. And so that literally to this day is my favorite interview that I have ever done, because I think that one really showed more so of what I can do, because I tend to go more of the entertainment route. I like to have fun with my guests, but this one was a serious topic.
Before we let you go, Denise, we have a musical theme on this Christmas show. We're going through 2001 hits, and I just wanted to take everyone back. Where was Denise Salcedo in the year 2001 in a sentence or two?
Denise Salcedo in 2001 was the biggest wrestling mark ever. I think that was my peak of wrestling fandom, because I was 10 or 11 during that time. So I was really becoming I was really a fan, I think at this point I still thought it was real too. So add that in there. It was very embarrassing, but that's where I was during this time. I was one of the biggest wrestling fans during this period, my peak markiness.
Awesome. Well, Denise, thank you so much. I mean, both Way and I have such a great respect for your work, and it was a pleasure to come on your show back a couple of months ago, back in October after Dynamite, to chat with you. And maybe we will get you back here around Easter time to celebrate the forgotten holiday. But have a tremendous holiday season. I'm sure it'll be a busy one for you, but thanks so much for taking some time to chat with us.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.